So it's been a while since I did one of these. Let's see if I still got it. What is up? It is your girl, and it's definitely been a while. Like, it's been a long time since I've done one of these. To be fair, I have been working on a ton of stuff. I did just put out a really rad Suicide Squad Who's Who, which was ridiculously fun to do, by the way. And if you haven't checked that out, please do so immediately because I am obsessed. I mean, obsessed with the Suicide Squad. I have also been doing my weekly show with my best friend in comics, Jen, every Sunday on our show, Casually Comics. And listen, I've been reading a lot. I just haven't been filming a lot because if you only knew how long it took to set up everything, maybe then you would understand. One day your girl will get her own studio, but until then, we're just gonna have to do. So yeah, as the title kind of states, we're going to be doing like a what I've been reading wrap up because, you know, in the good old days of my channel, I used to do one of those every month. And then I realized I was kind of crazy putting myself on some constricting schedule and it was making me feel burnt out. So, yeah, I haven't done a what I've been reading in a while, but I've been reading a lot of really, really good stuff that I want to talk about with you guys. So, I guess that means it's time to do a what I've been reading. So, here's not everything, but here's a lot of the really fun stuff that I have been reading throughout 2021. So let's dive into this. So the first book on my list is a book that literally people have been yelling at me to read since it debuted. And I was always kind of like, no, I'm not going to read it because I don't like the character. And if you haven't guessed already, the book in question is Harleen. I'm going to throw it up there if you're new from the channel. I read a lot of library books and I don't always still have the library books, so Harleen is back at the library. I'm on record of saying that I do not like Harley Quinn. It doesn't matter what version of her it is. It could be the Harley Quinn version, the Suicide Squad version, the really weird New 52 version where she's kind of a knockoff Deadpool. I don't like Harley Quinn. She's annoying to me. Her voice gets on my nerves. I kind of just want to punch her in the face. I'm sorry if you're a big Harley Quinn fan. I know there's a lot of you out there. I just can't vibe with the book. So when Stepan Sajic, I hope I'm saying that right, probably not saying that right, but it's fine. But when Stepan Sajic announces that he is finally getting the chance to do his webcomic as an actual comic for DC Black Label, your girl is a little intrigued. And because I love Stepan Sajic, again, sorry if I pronounced the name wrong, because I love this man and his work so much, seriously, please go read Sunstone. Because I love his work so much, I'm gonna check out Harleen, and I'm very upset with myself because I read the whole book in one sitting and immediately wanted 10 more copies. I'm not even kidding, guys. This book is ridiculously good. So Harleen is basically a retelling of Harley's origin story and how she meets with the Joker. However, it tends to focus more on her as Harleen Quinzel, as sort of this like new intern and upcoming doctor in the psychiatric hospital we all know as Arkham Asylum. So we see her interviewing a lot of the familiar Gotham villains. She's interacting with Mr. Freeze, with Poison Ivy, and of course with Joker himself. By the way, can we have a word? Because I am very upset that I was remotely attracted to the Joker in this book, and it made me want to immediately jump into a hot shower and clean myself and cleanse myself of that feeling because listen, no one should ever fall in love with the Joker. However, when Stepan Sajic draws him the way that he does, I can kind of understand why Harley did what she did. But not really. This book was just utterly amazing. It was amazing from start to finish. It really dives into Harley and her, you know, core aspects of herself and what led her to become, you know, this Harlequin maniac jester girlfriend that we now know of. It really kind of helps set that tone. There's a lot of really, really great story pacing moments like this one where she's first interacting with the Joker for the first time and she's kind of watching on the sidelines of this fight between Batman and the Joker, and it was just the storytelling in itself that immediately locked me in and I was like, holy crap, this is a good book. I was ridiculously surprised over how much I loved this book because, like I said, I don't like Harley. I don't like Joker. I'm kind of exhausted by Gotham and all things Batman. But I want so much more immediately. And what I really like about Harleen is we also kind of get a glimpse into Two-Face's origin as well. And Two-Face being one of my favorite villains, I really, really appreciated that. I immediately want Stepan Sajic, again, sorry if I'm pronouncing the name wrong, But I immediately want him to do 10 more versions of this. And what I mean by that is I want to see him take on characters like Two-Face and give him his own story. Poison Ivy, which we've already seen glimpses of on his webcomics, that he really wants to do something like that. So maybe DC should just let him do that. I also want to see him take on Hush. Is that too much of me to ask? I know people don't like him. I know he's not that big of a character, but listen, any excuse for me to get more Hush is what I want. Seriously, I cannot recommend this book enough. I can't believe we're starting off on such a banger as Harleen, but even if you don't read DC Comics, if you don't read superhero books, because while this book is technically a superhero book in its own right, it reads more like an indie comic because it's done by Stepan Sajic, who does more independent stuff. You can also really see a lot of the love for these characters because it was a fan doing this book versus somebody just being assigned to the book. And I know that feels mean to say, but you could really see the love for this character and the lore to come out in his storytelling. So Harleen, if you haven't read it, pick it up immediately. It's a really damn good book. So last year we established I kind of started diving deeper into manga. I've always kind of like looked at manga as like this medium that was way too big to get into because, you know, we've got so many genres, so many wide varieties. We have series like One Piece that go up to like book 200 or something like that. I don't know. If you read One Piece, congrats on you. Y'all are insane. I don't have that type of time, but I found myself reading more and more manga, and I feel like that's continuing to progress into 2021, and I kind of got myself obsessed with a series, y'all. So this is Blood on the Tracks. I have Blood on the Tracks 1 through 4 here. I still need to pick up 5 because for some reason my local bookstore doesn't have it and I am way too lazy and impatient to get it through Amazon. Also, don't support Amazon because they are bad and kind of evil. Blood on the Tracks is literally the manga you should read if you don't read manga or if you've never read manga. So it's this very horror based, but like realistic horror, if I can explain it as such, that kind of drags you in and terrifies you and makes you sit there in the middle of the night as you're reading it at 2 a.m. because you binge read all 4 volumes going, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, please stop, don't help me. That is literally how I felt while reading this series. Blood on the Tracks tells the story of this mother and her young son, and Mama's a little bit crazy. I ain't gonna lie. Mama is very, very crazy. So she kind of has this obsession with her son where he is like this precious, perfect little boy. Think kind of Norman Bates and, Norma Bates style-esque. That's kind of how this story feels, where she is so obsessed with her son that she is willing to do awful and terrible things, not only to those around her, but to her own family as well. I mean, seriously, there is a part in the book where, the little boy, he ends up getting like his first, middle grade crush, and they kind of are exchanging love notes back and forth to each other, and crazy old mama crawls up in his bed and is like, you need to dump her and leave her and tell her how much you hate her, because if not, I will kill myself. I'm not kidding. Mama is really, really crazy, and I just keep thinking about that one panel where Mama is smiling, and I've got the heebie-jeebies just thinking about it. This book is crazy. It's insane. The art style doesn't even feel like manga. It sets this very creepy, like eerily familiar tone. Like, I feel like this is a story that could happen to anybody. There's no mystical mojo. There's no magic, no demons, no ghosts, no goblins. It's literally just about a crazy mom. And I feel like there's a lot of us out there that can maybe relate to that, and that makes it even scarier. Read Blood on the Tracks. We're only up to volume 5 right now because 5 just popped up at the end of March, and I still need to read it, but this series continues to get better and better, and book 4 left off on such a cliffhanger that I'm like, where is it gonna go next? So we've established how much I love queer content. I mean, as your resident queer bisexual comic YouTuber queen here, if I can so call myself that. But I love queer content. I love queer comics, and I feel like we've been getting more and more queer comic content, which makes me really, really happy. However, it feels like, and we've established this in previous videos, it feels like we're still falling into that trope where every queer comic story is, finding yourself, accepting your sexuality, discovering your sexuality, and kind of going on from there. And while it makes me happy because these are stories that young people and old people still trying to accept themselves can resonate with, your girl just wants comics with queer content. And I finally got that with Cosmo Knights. I really loved Cosmo Knights. Like, I cannot even explain how much I love Cosmo Knights. Cosmo Knights is an original graphic novel by Hannah Templar. It's from a really like weird indie publisher that I can't even think of, but I'll probably flash it up here somewhere. This book is the gayest book I have ever read, and it is just flat out, it is gay. It's just gay. And I like that. Listen, give me just gay characters without explaining that, you know, is the whole premise of their story. I love this. So Cosmo Knights is like this weird, cool, fun sci-fi story where you've got all these planets with all these different princesses, and men literally come to win their hand in marriage. And it's like really weird, and they get these like really cool mecha battles with each other in these big stadiums, which is really fun to watch, especially after coming off of my Evangelion phase. I really like seeing more mech battles. But it is these big mech battles to win like this princess's hand in like marriage, and you've got these knights fighting for them, and it's really weird but really cool. But then you have a group of women who are like, nah, listen, we're not for that. We're gonna go out. We're gonna pose as these knights that are trying to win a hand in marriage. We are going to win these mech battles. We are going to win the proper hands of the princesses. And then we are going to release them into the wild so that way they can be free and do what they want. That's basically the premise of the book. It's really fun. It's really queer. You get some really great characters. I absolutely love our main cast. And not just because one of them is a big buff lady woman who I immediately fell in love with. I guess that's just my thing where, you know, I fall in love with women faster than a Disney princess falls in love with a prince that she has never met. True story. This book is just so much fun. It is action-packed. It is queer. I immediately want like 12 more volumes, and volume 2, I believe, is slowly on the way, but is not here nearly fast enough. And if you want something really fun, if you just want something hella queer, you want this cast of really great characters, you want some ridiculously fantastic art, because this book is colorful as hell, and Hannah Templar doing both the art and the writing. Holy cow, girl, you have killed it on this. But I love Cosmo Knights. I am so mad that I did not read Cosmo Knights sooner, because this is a book that has been on my radar, and I've always been like, okay, I know it's hella gay. I'm gonna read it at some point. Finally picked it up at my local library, and I immediately feel regret. So I need to buy my own copy immediately, because I feel like this is going to be a book where, you know, when I just want something like a palate cleanser, we're going to call it a palate cleanser, when you just want something fun and a quick, easy read, I'm going to pick up some Cosmo Knights and I'm going to have a good time. Can you believe that we got not one, but 2 heavily queer quoted comic books in one video that isn't just about coming out? That's right, y'all. I'm talking about Motor Crush. I love me some Motor Crush. This book was so much fun when it came out, and I unfortunately let it drop off my pull list, and then finally within the past couple weeks decided to reread volume 1, which has been sitting on my shelf forever, and I can confirm that this is still a very good book. When I think about comic book universes and comic books that I want to live in, Motor Crush is literally at the top of the list. Motor Crush is such an anime-inspired, fun-fueled fest. Everything is so colorful. The outfits are just so cool, and the world just drips and oozes with style. I mean, probably because it is created by Babs Tarr, and while Babs Tarr is a little bit problematic, her artwork is absolutely gorgeous, and she has a style that I feel like nobody else can replicate. Motor Crush follows Domino Swift, who is this awesome, badass, and also queer lady, but without announcing that she's queer, she's just queer, and I love that. Give me more ladies who are just queer. But she is this really rad race car motocross driver, hence the name Motor Crush. But she is this really awesome bike racer, and she enters into all of these events with her father, who is also a previous Motor Crush rider or motorbike rider, whatever we're calling it now. And she also moonlights at night. So she does her fancy to do with all these rules and guideline races during the day, and then at night she kind of swaps over into this drag race style Mad Max Fury Road, let's beat the crap out of each other sort of race, and it's just really fun. I love this book. I love all the characters. I love Domino herself. I love her girlfriend, who's like basically Bulma, but even cuter. And I'm like, how the hell do you get cuter than Bulma? This is another one of those books where you kind of just sit down and get yourself lost in it. It's a really fun and easy read. They've got this really cool, like, there's these really cool like infographics throughout the entire book, especially when we get into the races where it's like, press here to bet on something. And I find myself constantly while reading the book pressing the buttons that don't actually exist, so that way I can read more information. And I just think that that's really awesome, because it really does transport you to this universe that has been crafted by Brendan Fletcher and Babs Tarr and somebody else who I won't mention on this channel because they are gross and disgusting, but there is a third person on this book who we're just not going to mention. Motor Crush is a lot of fun. It's one of those books that unfortunately didn't do so well in single issues, but did really well in the trade, so Image stopped doing the single issues and just pushed it to the OGN format after volume 2 or 3, but it is definitely a fun book and one of those easygoing books that I feel like non-comic book readers can pick up. So if you watch my Sunday show with Jen, you will see a very amazing moment, probably one of my best works, realization that there is an actual comic book in this universe. A real comic book published by Marvel Comics where Wolverine is gay, and canonically gay. I mean, not really, because it is an alternate universe. And it completely blew my mind. Like, blew my mind. Didn't even realize that this was a thing. And I immediately was like, I need to read more of that. I am talking about Extreme X-Men. So I read Extreme X-Men Volume 1 and Volume 2 because luckily my library had both. And this was not a good book. I did not have a good time. Gay Wolverine only shows up in like 3 panels. I mean, he's throughout the entire book. They only mention his gayness like in 3 panels though. So I was like, what is the actual point? This book made absolutely no sense. So it follows Wolverine, Dazzler, and Nightcrawler, all from like different universes, except for Dazzler. I guess she's from our main universe. And they find a Professor Xavier who is only a floating head, and they have to jump across the multiverse to kill the 12 evil Xaviers. Sounds pretty cool, sounds pretty fun. You start the book off, you're going to all these different universes. The first universe we go to is actually hella fun because it's all of these gods, and you got Thor, and you got Storm, and you got Namor, and they've created this sort of like godly convul temple, and it's really fun and really unique, and you see all these characters interacting with each other. Then we go to the Wild Wild West, and I'm like, okay, we're doing the Wild Wild West thing, but then we just continue to jump, and things continue to not make sense. At one point, we find out that Cyclops is an ex-Confederate soldier, and I just feel like that was really weird and out of place, and then after that, things just kind of stopped making sense. I can't even relate to you the rest of the plot, and I feel like this is what happens with X-Men comics, is that I feel like you get an X-Men comic, and either it's really, really simple and I can follow all the plot points, or we just throw everything out the window and X-Men just do their own thing and nothing makes sense anymore. It's all made up and the points don't matter. That is how X-Men work. Listen, I went into this book really excited to read Gay Wolverine. If this is the reason that you too read the book to experience Gay Wolverine, don't do it. Just go to fanfiction.net or something. Trust me, it's going to be a lot less of a hassle. You're going to go through a lot less headache. The payoff really doesn't even matter at this point. Just don't do it. Don't read Extreme X-Men. It was a rough read, y'all. I did not have a good time. I finally read Department of Truth Volume 1. So first off, let's premise, Department of Truth Volume 1 has all 5 issues and it's only $10. So I definitely think that you should pick it up. That being said, I really did not like this book either. I was so ridiculously excited for Department of Truth. It seemed like this really fun new series from James Tynion, who we all know from Something is Killing the Children. It was his take on a new independent series where it was basically conspiracy theories come to life, and this organization who I guess had to go around and shut them down. Read the first issue, did not like the first issue, kind of really hated the first issue, but everybody continued to hype up this series, so I figured, let me pick up the trade. It's only $10. Maybe I'll like it in trade format. Can confirm, still did not like this story. I mean, there were parts that I liked about it, but did not like it overall. Department of Truth, like I said, deals with a lot of conspiracy theories, however, not in the way that you think, and I think that this is where it kind of gets a little interesting. So in the world of Department of Truth, the more people that believe in these conspiracy theories, the more likely they are to come to life. So we see it happen where there's a plane of people who believe that flat Earth is a thing, and because so many of them believe that flat Earth is a thing, we actually see a wall pop up and we actually realize that flat Earth is a thing. Same goes to show with the lizard people. So like, you know, Mark Zuckerberg, who I am confirmed is a lizard at this point, you know, the more people that believe it, the more lizard people start to pop up. However, there are parts in this book that I was really excited for, or maybe not excited for, because that's the wrong way to put it, but I was really interested in. So one of the things that this book deals with is the Sandy Hook Massacre. Not necessarily the Sandy Hook Massacre per se in name, but it has to deal with school shootings. So this happens around issue 3. So if you want to see what I'm talking about, you can easily just pick up that issue and read it through. However, it has to deal with this mother who, you know, lost her son during a school shooting, and she's kind of dealing with the grief of it. And she's bombarded with all of these letters that her son actually didn't die, that her son was a crisis actor, because these all are very real conspiracy theories that we see in our world today, including this one in particular. So she's getting all of these letters, you know, accusing her of being a part of the scam and the conspiracy, and, you know, her son has been here and there, and, you know, she's dealing with that and she doesn't want to accept the fact. But then she kind of like has her mind flipped where, because all of these people are believing it, then she kind of starts to see proof that her son is still alive. And now she kind of wonders, well, where is her son? Because her son's not with her. And while I think that it is interesting, and this is where I'm going to get a little deep on y'all, and I'm sorry if you're not here for that, where I think it is very interesting, and if I'm being quite honest, this is the part of the story that I actually was most interested in, and is the point where I was like, okay, this is actually a good book. It also made me feel wildly uncomfortable because these are parents and people that went through this pain, and it almost feels like they're being exploited in a way in this comic book. And maybe not necessarily exploited, maybe that's not the word that I'm looking for, but it is something about it, the fact that they are people that went through this very real thing, that there are families that are still going through this, and it's continuing to happen, that made me feel wildly uncomfortable. And like I said, I'm really conflicted because it was the part of the book that I was most interested in and the part I connected with the most, but I also feel like it should not be a part of the book. So I don't know if I'm going to continue this series in trade, if I'm being honest with you. It's kind of one of those books where I finished it and I just wasn't interested in it any further. I know a lot of people out there really, really like this book, but it just was not for me. So kind of like the rest of the world, I became absolutely batshit obsessed with WandaVision, and not just WandaVision itself, but Scarlet Witch, basically. Yeah, I became obsessed with the Scarlet Witch. I am now a big Wanda Maximoff stan. I will fight people on the street for her. I love her so much. We are essentially the same person. Don't know what that says about my character, but I resonate with Wanda Maximoff a whole lot. I really, really wanted to read House of M. You know, as we all know, House of M is known for that iconic scene where Wanda whispers out, "No more mutants," and it happens. However, this book was out of print, and Marvel did a good job with rushing this back to print so that way I could get my hands on it. And I actually read this book last night, and this book is the whole reason I wanted to do this video today. I ain't even gonna lie. So I was a little wary going into House of M because not only is it, you know, that weird mid-2000s era where comics were sometimes good but not always good. It was also done by Brian Michael Bendis, who I'm not a huge fan of. But the main thing that concerned me in this book is it was this big event and crossover kind of, but not really. And I don't like events. I can't even tell you an event in this world, whether it's from DC or Marvel, that I consider good. I'm sorry, events are stupid. Y'all comic book companies keep thinking that events are going to drive your sales, and I really don't think that it does. I might be wrong. I need to look at the numbers on that, but I feel like events hurt comic book sales because it definitely alienates readers, it alienates casual fans. I just don't like them. That being said, House of M was actually very easy to follow, and even if you are a casual fan of comics and just know the characters, I feel like you could pick this book up. House of M made me cry in the first 4 pages. I'm not even kidding. The first 4 pages honestly are a heavy trip. So it starts off with, you know, Wanda Maximoff believing that she's giving birth to, you know, Tommy and Billy, and then Professor X wheels up and he's like, Wanda, you have to put it back, you have to put the universe back. And she has this realization that, oh no, I killed the Avengers, I killed Hawkeye, I killed Vision. And I'm just like, wow, this is the first 4 pages of the book. And then it continues to get heavier and heavier. We see Magneto and we see Pietro have this big long conversation, because at this point the Avengers and the X-Men have come together and they now have to decide the fate of Wanda Maximoff. They have to decide whether they are going to continue to struggle to help her, or if they are going to kill her, because the damage she has done to the world and to the Avengers is just too much at this point. This book is very heavy. We then kind of get thrown into this alternate universe what if, following Wolverine for the most part, and that's where I was a little worried, because I'm like, oh, we're doing this weird alternate universe thing. But it's actually kind of interesting. So in this world that Wanda has created, she has basically given different members of the Avengers and different members of the X-Men everything that they have ever wanted. And she gives them their deepest inner, you know, happiness. So like, for example, we see Scott Summers and we see Emma Frost married. We see Wolverine, weirdly enough, taking over control of S.H.I.E.L.D. and becoming the next Nick Fury, which is kind of weird for happiness for Wolverine, but I'll take it. But one of the characters that I did not expect to resonate with, and is a character that actually shows up a lot in the series, is Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man. So in Peter Parker's perfect world, Uncle Ben is alive and he's with Aunt May, which, okay, I expect that. However, in this perfect universe, he is now married to Gwen Stacy and they have a child, which means for Mary Jane, she is now this upcoming rising star and this like superstar and movie actress, and she's living her best life. When Peter Parker kind of snaps out of this reality, he's kind of left in the wake of, oh my God, my best life, if you will, and I hate saying that, but my best life, if you will, is not being with the woman I am, it's being with somebody else. And then he's stuck with the memories of what he had with both of these women. And I think that that is very interesting. I want more of that. I did not expect Spider-Man to come into my House of M book, but I want more of that. And if there is a series that goes more in depth into that, please, down in the comments, let me know, because there's so much House of M tie-ins that I don't think I'm even going to touch. I definitely think that reading just the mainline title is going to be what's best for you. Now, I do want to warn people, there is not a lot of Scarlet Witch in this book, despite it being about Scarlet Witch. So if you're going into this book expecting to see a lot of Wanda, if you want to see more character development from her, that is not this book. However, that being said, this book is very important into her lore and into her history, and it is still a very good and interesting ride, because you can kind of see all of the what if scenarios. You see all of these characters come together, X-Men and Avengers, to kind of face off this threat. And you can definitely see where a lot of the inspiration from WandaVision came to be from House of M. I don't know, I just kind of really went into this book wanting to love it a lot, but setting my expectations super low, because it was a big event from Marvel in the mid-2000s, and was like really surprised when it came out and it was really, really good. Also, I wanted to be noted that this like 11th edition printing is really crappy. It's really bendy. Marvel really did rush this out, but I'm still thankful because I got to read it, I guess. So that is everything. I know there wasn't like a lot here, but there was still kind of a lot. I feel like I've been reading a lot in 2021, even if I'm not consistently making these videos, because like, let's be honest, like I just feel like I'm so busy nowadays, and like I don't have time to be filming 14 million videos and then editing 14 million videos, but I still love doing these. So I definitely want to be doing more what I've been reading, because I love sharing with you guys some of the older series that I've been getting into and kind of bringing to light series that you guys should be reading, because I feel like when I do my Sunday show with Jen, we focus heavily on new releases and things as they're coming out, and sometimes not as much going in depth to, you know, older stuff, which is great, because then I have stuff for my channel. Not only that, but I feel like there's so many comic people on YouTube these days, which is amazing. I love this community that we found, but I kind of want to be doing something different. I want to feel like I'm doing stuff different, so I'm doing a little bit of everything, I guess. I've got a lot of really great stuff coming up on the channel, a lot of research stuff that I've been doing stuff, you know, and going in depth. And I actually really like doing that. I didn't think I would have fun doing research and then kind of presenting the information, but it is actually a lot of fun. I'm gonna skedaddle on out of here. Probably gonna read through House of M again and cry a little bit. But it was great hanging out with you guys. Can't wait to see y'all in the next video. Bye!